Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Crime Talk, and my name is Scott Reich. Let's preview the docket. Well, Casey White is back in custody after being arrested in Evansville, Indiana on Monday, and his lover, Vicky, died from a gunshot wound to the head after a dramatic police chase, and it's unclear who pulled the trigger. Jacob Blake, remember him? He gets no money for being shot 7 times. No charges for Mike Tyson, and then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it. Sorry if there's a little wind in the audio. We are coming to you for our last day down here south of the border in Mexico. It is a beautiful beach scene. Let me show you a quick view. So since we always get somebody that says there's wind in the audio, this is the reason why. I could do it inside, but who doesn't want to be outside enjoying this lovely view? All right, now we have a lot to talk about today. So before we get started on the docket, let's support the people that support the channel. Please go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. Check out CrimeTalkSearch.com. We use this in our law practice on a daily basis, and sometimes you just never know what you're going to find. That's why you check them out. All right. Please like the video, subscribe if you have not, and hit that bell for notifications. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can listen to us on your favorite podcasting app anytime. Simply just type in Crime Talk with Scott Reich. All right, let's go ahead and open the record for Tuesday, May 10th, 2022, and begin the docket. As we stated in the intro, Casey White is back in custody after being arrested in Evansville, Indiana on Monday. Now, his lover, the former correctional officer, Vicky, she died from a gunshot wound to the head after a dramatic police chase, but it's unclear at this point who actually pulled the trigger. Now, as you may recall, Vicky White was supposed to be transporting Casey White, they weren't related, on April 29th from the jail to court, but the pair made a run for it. They managed to dump their car in Tennessee and then evade police for nearly 2 weeks. The pair has been hiding out in Evansville, Indiana since May 3rd, and they dumped their car at a car wash that day. And the owner of the car wash reported their truck to police on May 4th, but the police said they really couldn't do anything. So he had the vehicle towed, and on May 4th and on May 8th, the United States Marshals finally contacted him about the surveillance footage that he had of Casey White at the car wash. Well, guess what? Then the Marshals then tracked the pair to the motel on Monday, followed them in a different vehicle, and like I said, Casey is now in custody, and the sheriff insists he will not be let out of their sight. Now, initially, police said that Vicky White killed herself, and the reason for that was there was some audio of a dispatch call between 911 operators, and it revealed that Vicky told them she was holding a gun to her head and had her finger on the trigger. However, as of today, it remains unclear if she killed herself or if Casey shot her. An autopsy is pending. Now, the Marshals Service noted that when they made the arrest yesterday afternoon, when they were taking Casey White into custody, he said, quote, "Help my wife, she just shot herself," end quote. Obviously, there's an ongoing investigation to determine if that was in fact the case. Now, Casey White's quality of life is going to be very different than it has been. Obviously, there were reports that he was receiving some special treatment from Vicky. Well, he'll be now getting some even more special treatment. But this will usually require every time he comes out of his jail cell, he will be belly chained. He'll have his ankles shackled, and he may even have a stun belt when he goes to court. And I assure you, there will be multiple officers around him at any time he's out of the cell. And the correctional officers will more than likely be also posted outside of his cell, and they will probably be instructed not to speak with Casey White so that they cannot be manipulated by him. Okay, now you may say, Scott, how do you know this? Well, let's just say Scott had experience with a client that was a pretty smooth talker, very manipulative, and was able to get people, including correctional officers, to do things for him because, well, he was that good. And one could argue that maybe Casey White is that good as well. So we will have to wait and see. In this particular case, Mr. White has a trial coming up, and now he's going to have more charges coming up as well. Now, this guy was never getting out of prison. I'm sure he figured, what the hell? And he had that final last touch of freedom before he goes off and spends the rest of his life in prison, where one would say that he is a dangerous person and probably deserves to stay there. Now, we'll see what happens in his upcoming murder trial, where he's confessed but claiming insanity. Somehow I think that defense just went out the window. Jacob Blake, remember that kid? He gets nothing. Well, lawyers for Jacob Blake filed a stipulation late last week to dismiss their excessive force lawsuit against Officer Rustin Shesky. He's the police officer who shot Mr. Blake 7 times in Kenosha, Wisconsin, during the summer of the 2020 after George Floyd's murder sparked nationwide protests. Now, Blake's shooting also was at the hand of a white police officer and has sparked similar protests, and there was also destruction and violence in Kenosha. Well, this case was a little different. Well, obviously, we all know Mr. Blake was left paralyzed from the waist down from being shot 7 times. Now, he filed suit back in March of 2021, claiming throughout the entire course of the 7 shots being fired, Mr. Blake was moving away from and not towards the defendant, Officer Shesky, into a seated position, as evidenced by the fact that the T-shirt plaintiff Blake was wearing was continuously stretched by defendant Shesky's grasp of it. And even after the 7th shot occurred, that's right, the officer shot Blake's spinal cord column, and it was in fact severed. Blake claimed that though he did have a knife, he did not threaten the officer nor point the knife at the officer. Blake threw the folding knife onto the floorboard of the SUV in a moment that was fully visible to the officer, lawsuit claimed. No charges were brought against the officer in connection with the shooting, and he claimed he feared for his life and that Jacob Blake was in fact going to stab him with the knife, and in order to escape police in the SUV with a young child inside. The district attorney concluded that Officer Shesky's self-defense claim would be insurmountable in court. Well, guess what? Apparently, Mr. Blake's attorneys came to that same realization when they dismissed the case. So unlike Mr. Floyd's family, who got $21 million, Mr. Blake and his family get nothing. Next on the docket, no charges for Mike Tyson. The San Mateo County District Attorney said Monday morning, because of the conduct of the victim leading up to the incident, the interaction between Mr. Tyson and the victim, as well as the requests of both the victim and Mr. Tyson, no charges will be filed against the legendary fighter. Tyson had been facing the possibility of multiple criminal charges after he punched a man repeatedly in the face at the San Francisco airport as they were boarding a JetBlue plane on April 20th. Now, representatives for Mr. Tyson had alleged that the man threw a water bottle at Mr. Tyson and annoyed him repeatedly prior to the attack. An attorney for the man, meanwhile, had argued no bottle was thrown and blamed the incident on his client being overly excited. The DA believed that there were more serious cases in his office that should be prosecuted. No word on whether there is a civil suit coming or maybe if there's already been a civil settlement reached as well. When the victim doesn't want to come forward, that's certainly good news for the potential defendant, as it is for Mr. Tyson in this particular case. But remember, the victim doesn't have any real sway when it comes to the prosecution of a case. That's why it says the people of the state of California versus Mr. Tyson if charges were filed. The victim is simply a mere witness in the matter, and although they have to be consulted under most victims' rights acts that exist in states as well as in federal law, it's ultimately the prosecutors that can say, we don't care what your position is, we are going forward. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. Please meet Jacob Ryan Philbeck. Now, he made a series of 911 calls early yesterday, informed police dispatchers that he thought that President Joe Biden should be jailed, while convicted drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman should be freed from custody. Now, Philbeck was arrested for misuse of the 911 system, which is in fact a misdemeanor, and Philbeck was initially informed that the information he was providing was a non-emergency situation. Philbeck was also warned not to use the 911 system in a circumstance. The arrest report also notes that there was an indication of alcohol influence. That's right. Alcohol involved. Shocking. It does people's judgment so well. All right. Thanks for watching. Let's close the record for Tuesday, May 10th, 2020, and we'll see you next time on Crime Talk.